Hi, welcome to another episode of Advocate with Abkarian. We have two very, very important guests today. Instead of going through my introduction of my show, we're going to jump right into talking to two of our guests. Our first guest is Vartan Gharpetian. I think you guys know him. He needs no introduction, even though he will give an introduction if you want, but everyone knows who he is. And our honored guest that we have here, this is the third time that he's accepted my invitation to come to our show, is Nathan Hochman, running for district attorney in County of Los Angeles. I am very, very confident that he will be our next DA in LA County, and we're glad to have you back again, Nathan. So both of you, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Nathan, let's get started and get that out of the way of giving a very quick introduction to a 30-second introduction into Nathan Hochman.
Wonderful. So I'm a lifelong Angelino, born here, grew up here, married now 31 years, raised my three kids now in their 20s here in Los Angeles. I have 34 years of criminal justice experience. 10 of it as a prosecutor. I was a federal prosecutor. I prosecuted gang members, narcotics traffickers, money launderers, environmental criminals, and corrupt public officials, and dirty cops. I then had a chance to get a presidential nomination, a unanimous U.S. Senate confirmation, to run the U.S. Department of Justice's tax division back in Washington, D.C. But I also have 24 years as a criminal defense counsel. I've represented individuals and organizations fighting against the government and asserting their constitutional rights. I have over 200 of those cases under my belt, 100 cases as a prosecutor, and will bring that 34 years of criminal justice experience, plus being the president of the LA City Ethics Commission, to the job of district attorney.
Wow, that's a heavy load to just squeeze in a 30-second spot, but thank you. I mean, there's no question that you are probably one of the most qualified DAs that we've had. We've had very good ones, Steve Cooley, Jackie Lacey, and now you. So we want to go ahead and talk to Vartan about a couple of things. Let's talk about public safety.
Right.
And why don't you give us a little bit of your overview as to how you see it and how that plays a role?
Right. Thank you, Albert. Thank you for having us. Public safety is number one in everybody's radar. It's everybody's mind. And if you don't have a safe city, the rest is, I think, irrelevant. It is irrelevant because if you have good schools, good properties, good businesses, but you don't have a safe city, then one doesn't go well with the other. So public safety is number one. And the problem that every city has, including Glendale, is DA's office not enforcing the law, not prosecuting these cases that police officers, they arrest someone, they take it to the DA's office, and it's not being prosecuted, they're being let out. And some of the propositions that was passed in the past, AB 109, Prop 47, that gave criminals a lot more free hand to do what they want to do. How could someone walk into someone's store and steal $900, less than $950, and it's like citation. They write them a ticket and go. So Glendale has the same issues. We had our number of burglaries a few months ago that went up, crime rate went up, and it's all due to not enforcing the law from the DA's office. So our police department is a sledgehammer. I think is number one in our region, and they're doing a great job. But with every department has limited resources. They don't have unlimited resources. So by having a limited resources, they're doing a great job. We're still one of the, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, fourth or fifth safest city in California. But we want to do better, and in order to do better, we need to have a DA's office that is enforcing the law, and in order to have the DA's office enforce the law, we have to support candidates like Mr. Hochman to get to that point.
Let's address that, and I think that is the crux of why you're running for office. Could you address the issue of a lack of prosecution because that really frustrates law enforcement.
And it really frustrates them. I've had a chance, one of the other jobs that I've had has been the co-founder of the LA Sheriff's Foundation. And through that foundation, I've had a chance to talk to literally hundreds of officers. And they're incredibly demoralized. I mean, not only is it a dangerous job, it's expensive to live here, but when the DA doesn't have your back, in other words, these officers, they build up these cases, they work with the victims to find the person who victimized them, they hand it over to the DA's office, and then the DA's office says, we're not prosecuting. And they ask why. Did we not give you enough facts? No, you have enough facts. Did the law change? No, the law didn't change. So what's up? Well, the DA himself, George Gascon, has a political agenda. And that agenda says that certain crimes and certain criminals will not be prosecuted no matter what the facts or the law is. So for instance, if a juvenile steals just under $950, it's a misdemeanor. Gascon says, I'm not prosecuting misdemeanor theft cases. That's a license to steal for juveniles. If you use a gun in connection with a violent crime, he says to his prosecutors, don't prosecute the gun enhancement. It gives criminals additional years if they use the gun. They're using the guns more often. How about the gang enhancement? It'd be great if gangs disappeared, but I'm telling you, they haven't. They've actually gotten stronger. Yet Gascon has told the 750 prosecutors they cannot bring the gang enhancement if someone's part of a gang and they engage in a violent crime. Why? Because his personal political agenda forbids it. That's what I would remove from day one. We take politics out of the DA's office and we go back to what they used to do. Look at the facts and look at the law and make criminal justice decisions based on only those two things.
And Nathan, that also frustrated the prosecutors. They think that they have a roadmap, and all of a sudden, there's a red light that never turns green right in front of them. They've gone the road, they've built the case, and now they have a roadblock that makes no sense. How do you address that with prosecutors? I'm assuming they're completely frustrated.
They're down 200 prosecutors because the senior people were just refused to work for Gascon and have left the office. You know, it's interesting. He came in first day, first hour, first email back in 2020, and without any prosecutorial experience, and I mean that. He has never personally prosecuted or defended a single criminal case in his entire life. He told 750 prosecutors, collectively with thousands of years of experience, how to do their job. And they couldn't believe it. And when they tried to tell him, no, it's not working that way, you got to try this, he retaliated against them, which is why he's facing 20 different civil lawsuits. And so these people back in 2022, when his recall almost happened, they got together and 98% of them supported their boss's recall. I mean, imagine that, if 98% of your employees thought you were doing such a bad job that they wanted you fired or resigned, most people would either hide their head in shame and go out the back door or pivot and listen to those people. He has no interest in listening to his own prosecutors, but I do. So I actually, after the March 5th primary, where it's now just Gascon and myself on the ballot, I got the endorsement of their union. But more importantly, I told the president of the union, I said, I want to talk to these prosecutors because I need to learn from them. I need to listen to them. I mean, I don't come in thinking I have all the answers. They are in the front lines. They can tell me what's going wrong and how best to fix it. So I've met with over 300 of them in 7 different meetings around this county. And I'm sad to say that they said that the hour and a half that they have spent with me is more time than they've spent with George Gascon in 3.5 years. Wow. And so if I do my job is to maximize the greatest asset of the DA's office, which is them. Yeah. And I told them if they need training, they will get training. If they need resources, they will get resources. If they do the work, they'll get the credit for the work. Gascon is famous for doing press conferences, where he is announcing the investigation, the prosecution, the conviction, the sentencing, and he's the only one there. You'd swear to God he actually did all that work himself, and he did none of it. I told these prosecutors, I said, you do the work, you are right there, front and center, getting the credit that you deserve.
And that's extremely important. Also, I don't want to keep going back and forth, but by not prosecuting because Gascon doesn't let them, there's an actual friction between the law enforcement and the prosecution. Even though the prosecution has nothing to do with not prosecuting, it's the Gascon that's not doing it. Let's come back to that. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back, and as soon as we take a quick break, we will ask a few more questions, both from Vartan Gharpetian, our city council member from City of Glendale, and Nathan Hochman, the candidate for DA in LA County. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're here again with council member Vartan Gharpetian and with the candidate for DA, Nathan Hochman. Councilmember Gharpetian, let me ask you, you're out there talking to legislators, you're out there talking to people, and you're out there talking to police officers and law enforcement. What are you hearing out there as to the temperature of the safety in the city?
Well,
or in the LA County, really, because you have a lot of connections everywhere.
Right. I think as far as the residents go, they want a safe city. There's no doubt about it. Some neighborhoods that had way too many burglaries that was happening in there, the numbers were very high. They even hired their own security companies, temporarily, of course, but it was their choice to do so. As far as the police officers, they get frustrated too.
Businesses are affected with this.
Businesses are affected. We have 10,000 small businesses in Glendale, and they are the ones that hire most of our labor force. They are the ones who pay most of the taxes. They are the ones who vote in elections. You know, the middle class always gets involved in everything. So they are frustrated that they can't protect their own stores. And sometimes when you call the police, they say, this guy is stealing from my store, and it's like $800. They know they can't do much. The level of confidence and morality goes down if the police officers they arrest the same person several times, and they're being let out in an hour. There was a lady who got arrested, I believe, 9 times in one day. And she was still out there doing the same thing because of the policies that was put in place by George Gascon and lowering the level of the crime from felony to misdemeanor. And that is a big problem. As far as our police force, we have a great police department, and they want to do more. They want to enforce. So we also went as far as, that's another question I wanted to ask, was we went as far as, if we want to prosecute some of these crimes that are not being prosecuted in by DA's office in Glendale ourselves, what are our choices? There are some, felonies that the city can prosecute. We wanted to even build a division, create a division to be able to do that, because we're all frustrated. Business owners are frustrated, the property owners are frustrated, police department is frustrated, and the council is frustrated because we are the first point of contact, right? It's easy for people to show up at council level and ask a question, or criticize or bring an idea, then going to the DA's office, which is not there. And one of the biggest problems that I've seen with current DA's office is he does not meet with the victims' families. That is the refusal of meeting with the victims' families and explaining why he's doing what he's doing. And I think that is a big problem.
Well, let's talk about that issue, because I think that's extremely important. Because this is not unique to city councils in Glendale. This is basically every city council member everywhere is frustrated because they're the first attack from victims who say, hey, what are you doing? And they really are throwing their hands up saying, there's really very little we can do. So could you touch on that, and what would you do the first day you're in office?
Right. First day I'm in office, I actually bring those 750 prosecutors right there. I'm working in consensus with them. The tens of thousands of law enforcement officers, I will be working with them as well. The victims and the victim groups, side by side. All the elected leaders of the 88 cities and the unincorporated areas, right there with me. And we're going to basically send a message to criminals that we're back in business. We're back holding them smartly accountable. And by that, I'm saying I'm not going to replace Gascon's blanket extreme decarceration policies. That's actually what he calls them. With mass incarceration policies, the extremes don't work. I end up in the middle. And I actually call it the hard middle because it requires work. You have to look at each defendant individually, look at their background. Look at the crime they committed. Look at the impact on the victim to determine who the true threats are to our public safety and need to be behind bars, and the ones, quite honestly, that aren't. If they violate our society's laws, they still have to pay a debt back to society. But if they're a first-time nonviolent offender, that debt could be community service. It could be restitution, pay back the money if you stole it. If they have a serious mental illness or a drug addiction, get them into a diversion program. So that's the sort of smart, proportional, accountable approach. But what you can't do is what Gascon has done and say up front that there's just certain crimes and certain criminals we're not going to prosecute, because that has created a culture of lawlessness that actually spirals up. It starts small. One guy in a CVS stealing just under $950. Then you got 2 people doing it in a Walgreens. You got 100 people doing it in a 7-Eleven. Then you got your smash and grab robberies, your follow home robberies, your car break-ins, your home break-ins, all the way up to your most violent crimes. We have to change that spiral of lawlessness and bring back a spiral of lawfulness. And the only way you can do that is by working with local elected city leaders. And here's what I will tell you, hold on till November 5th. Don't make any actions just yet to bring in your own enforcement. Let me see if I can win that election on November 5th, get the DA's office to doing its job again for cities like Glendale, like Burbank, like all the 88 cities out there, so that we go back and back up the Glendale Police Department, one of the finest police departments in this entire county, and say, you bring us a good case with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that complies with the law, we'll do our job.
That's great. I think one of the biggest issues out there is going to be a lot of people complain, but a lot of people won't vote, refuse to vote, and refuse to do. I mean, in this day and age, it just blows my mind to see people get a ballot in their house and don't actually go to mail that ballot. I mean, how much easier could it be? So I think the biggest issue is voter turnout. You must go and vote. You can complain all you want that somebody broke into your house. You can complain that things are bad. You can complain that you're frustrated with burglarizing, getting burglarized. But if you're not voting, you need to just say nothing whatsoever. I am frustrated with people who don't vote in our city and complain all the time. So if you want something to be done, you need to go and vote. What do you think will get people to go and vote, Nathan? And then I'm going to ask the same questions from Councilmember Gharpetian as well.
Certainly. So the November 5th ballot will have a presidential election as part of it. We'll have a Senate election. We'll have other propositions as part of it. But the position that will most affect people's immediate safety for themselves and their family is the position of district attorney. You know, people have tried to recall George Gascon several times. It never made the ballot. The signatures were not sufficient to actually make the ballot. Gascon's on the ballot. He's on the ballot with Hochman. It's just the 2 of us squaring off on November 5th. So I totally agree with you. If you are frustrated or angry with the way safety has been going in your society, in your community, in your neighborhood, now is the time you can actually have your voice heard. So you have to vote on November 5th. Vote for your safety. Make that choice. Obviously, I hope people vote for myself, Nathan Hochman, and not George Gascon, that they are truly frustrated with the way things are going. But I absolutely encourage people to figure out this race and vote.
Councilmember?
Right. Look, elections have consequences. Not voting is a way of voting. Not just that people who are registered and don't vote. We have so many people who are not even registered to vote. So how is it that you get the ballot in your house for 3 weeks? You don't spend 2 minutes to fill it out and put it in the mailbox. And the stamp is already paid for it too. You don't have to even put a stamp on it. How difficult is it? It is not difficult. We get 35% of our registered voters, average, that participate in the elections. The rest, 50, 70, 80,000 ballots go into the trash after sitting in that kitchen countertop for 3 weeks. That is a shame. And if we don't vote, we cannot complain. If you don't vote, you can't complain. That's bottom line. So We registered so many people in these last elections. We have to continue doing so. Also, as far as the elected officials or candidates, we have to continue doing the same work on non-election years, not only when the elections come along. In general, every candidate. So we're trying to do that. So get people involved and get them excited. What makes people to come out and vote? You have to give them a reason. You have to get them excited for this election. It's presidential election, makes a huge difference in the future of our country. But local elections make more difference on your future, on your children's and grandchildren's future. It may not affect you today, but it will affect our children and grandchildren in the future. So everyone has to be involved in Glendale. I'm talking to Glendalians today because this is a local channel, but we have to get involved in every election and make our voices to be heard. That's bottom
Just so you know, this would be on the web, so a whole bunch of people in the LA
Right.
County are going to hear this as well. Just so you would know.
Right.
I think that at some point we need to say, let's go ahead and compare everyone. Just put Mr. Gascon, Diaz Gascon, and put all of his accomplishments, and put Nathan Hochman, all of his accomplishments, and then compare it. You have to do your own work. You know, we go political parties, we go a lot of different things, and sometimes we get really set in there. But really, that's something that we really need to do, is just to compare on our own and do the right thing. Now, I know you've met Councilman Gharpetian with Mr. Hochman. I know you guys have had conversations together, and I know you wanted to make an announcement today, which is much appreciated. So I'll give you the camera to make your announcement.
Sure. Thank you, Albert. When you said comparing, I've done that to see what happened to us in the last 4 years and what Mr. Hochman can bring to the table. When George Gascon came from San Francisco, when the mayor of San Francisco issues a statement and says, do not let this guy get elected in your district because it will ruin it, that's a big statement. So I've done my research. I'm proud to announce that I'm officially endorsing Mr. Hochman for DA's position. I encourage everyone to get involved in this election and vote for Mr. Nathan Hochman. Also, I spoke to our law enforcement officers, Glendale Police Department's GPOA, Glendale Police Officers Association, officially endorsed Mr. Hochman, which means a lot to all the Glendalians because we are all for public safety. So November 5th, you will get your ballot 3 weeks before. Get involved, vote, and vote for Mr. Hochman for DA's office. And I'm officially endorsing you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's a very, very nice endorsement. Just a quick statement, and then we'll sign off.
Certainly. That's a fantastic endorsement. And thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Why it means so much to me is that you have the ears and the eyes of your community that are channeled through you. And I hear that also from the Glendale Police Department. Right. And so it gives me the opportunity to work directly with your community through you and the police department to really hear what's going on. You know, what is working and what is not working. And I'm more interested, quite candidly, in what's not working and how we're going to fix it together. So again, this race will be won on November 5th together. It's the only way it can do it. And then once I'm district attorney, we will restore our safety together.
Perfect. I appreciate both of you accepting my invitation and coming down. Thank you for your endorsement. I'm sure Nathan appreciates that. Thank you very much, everyone, for staying with us. I'm sure we'll hear from DA candidate Hochman again one more time before the election. I'm going to hope that he can join us along with even Councilmember Gharpetian, and we would have another show. Thank you for taking your time and watching. It's an important election. It's an important office, and I urge you very much to fill out your ballots and mail it in. Thank you again, and have a nice day.